New tonight, following Team Trump's orders, CNN's K-File uncovering one of the 16 fake Trump electors who is now facing charges in Michigan, talking about, in her own words, on a radio show, about how she was a fake elector. And she says she worked with lawyers for the Trump campaign. In fact, she laid out the goals for the alleged plot, a plot that is at the heart of cases brought by special counsel Jack Smith and the Fulton County DA Fani Willis as well. Here is the former Michigan GOP chair, Michonne Maddock, in December 2020.
I, along with the other 15 electors, were guided by legal minds, attorneys.
One of the funniest parts about the false elector shit, the false elector schemes that is like being currently criminally prosecuted, is that we looked into it, right? And in some states, they just like simply don't have a law for it, right? But it's one of those situations where like it's very clearly not something you are allowed to do. So it's literally a situation where it's like, how do I describe it? Like it, even if there isn't an actual direct law that states you can't do it, it's well established and understood that you can't actually do it. Like you can't do this kind of interference, even if the law in and of itself has never been perfectly codified. It's within the common law, fraud everywhere. It's a document of legal significance with intent to defraud. It's like masturbating on an airplane. Well, masturbating on an airplane is not illegal. Okay? I don't know why these guys thought that they could, like, I don't know. It's a very odd situation because, well, first of all, masturbating on an airplane is a victimless crime, and it's not a crime anyway. Okay? It's more like smoking on an airplane. Well, I guess smoking on an airplane does have established law. There's no rule that says a dog can't play in the NBA. Tell that to designer. I think designer was cranking it out in public though, instead of like doing it in the bathroom or something. You know what I mean? Yeah, you can't do it in public. If you're cranking it, you got to keep it to the bathroom, the airplane bathroom. Anyway, listen, the point is not about whether or not I've masturbated on an airplane bathroom, okay? That's not, please stop focusing on that aspect. That is not important to the story. What's important to the story is everybody understands you can't fucking literally go above and beyond. You can maybe try and manipulate, I guess. No, even then, you can't. I don't think you can try and manipulate electors that are already existing to go and vote your way. They have to do it on their own volition, okay? Which people have in the past. And when they have done that in the past, all of those states have individually created laws against it, some of which even includes criminal punishments. There are states where like false electors have existed. When that happens, they usually implement a new law. But, however, ultimately, if there's a false elector, it's pretty simple. You just go, oh, you don't want to fucking vote for who actually won? Okay, well, we're replacing you. Right? We're replacing you. It's never been, I guess with one exception, it's never really been like a serious threat that changed the results of an election. And knowing that, these sneaky motherfuckers thought that they could do that. You can say Dem superdelegates. That's entirely separate. The DNC has fought in courts to maintain that the Democratic primaries conducted by the Democratic National Convention, the Democratic Party, are private affairs. They are technically intra-party affairs, which means that they could, at the end of it, say, no, this is our candidate. and they've won in a court of law. Whereas, yeah, that's why they have super delegates and blah, 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 all the shit in the DNC. That's different than the general election where two parties are going against one another. Okay, two parties are going against one another, and they're running for office, and the expectation is that your vote is supposed to ensure that you win the electoral college, and the electors in the electoral college vote in your direction. It's more symbolic than anything else. Oh no, bitching about the super delegates again? No, I'm actually saying that the Democratic Party legally can have super delegates and even change the result of a primary if they see fit, something that they've actually maintained in a court of law, and they are a private institution, and how that is actually different. I admit I was never your biggest fan, just politics, but I also admit I have a healthy respect for you all the same. You've done really well and are good at what you do, bro. So fair play, man. Power dab. Thank you, Powerhouse G. So, how do I describe it on Twitch terms is what I've been thinking of. And it's kind of like this, okay? The Republican Party in this situation is kind of like hot tub streamers, right? There are hot tub streamers that stay within the boundaries that Twitch has designed, okay? They stay within the boundaries that Twitch has designed with the terms of service in mind. And then there are certain hot tub streamers who push it forward, who push it always forward. They're like constantly arriving at the boundary of what the terms of service is, and like rule breaking as a profession. And we all know that they're doing that. So at the end of the day, you have to do something about it. You know what I mean? Twitch is, of course, going to do something about it. And that's kind of what the Republican Party is doing here, where they're like, well, technically, we thought that it was legally allowed to be able to just completely overturn the results of an election by using this incredibly undemocratic process, right? It's one of those situations where, like, even if there isn't directly a law, there are certain things that you can't do because that would be fucking insane. Now, some might say, sorry, that doesn't matter, because if it's not codified as a law, then you can't prosecute someone criminally, except you can't defraud the American population by trying to create a false slate of electors. So not only did they engage in boundary breaking by taking advantage of a lack of legal precedent, let's say, they did it in a way that was actually criminal. Okay? And now I got to pee again.
For our president, some very incredible constitutional attorneys. I've never in my whole life appreciated legal minds and attorneys before, I can tell you that. So what we did, along with 7 other states, really send in dueling electors. And that will be there before, a federal constitutional attorney, and it'll be before Mike Pence and Congress to make that decision.
KFAL's Andrew Kaczynski is out front. So, Andrew, dueling electors, use the word. Now, obviously, she's, blaming it on the attorneys or, saying, oh, I did it all at their direction. But I mean, laying out the plot, this is in December 2020 when she's not even trying to cover it up in some senses. She said a lot more than that. What was so significant about all of this?
Well, it's significant because it really shows that she knew exactly what she was doing when she put her name on that fake document. I mean, you heard it in the clip right there. She says they're going to be submitting their names to Mike Pence so he can pick them as the legitimate.
He can decide what to do about it, right?
Yeah. He can say they're the legitimate electors on January 6th, despite the fact that Donald Trump lost the state of Michigan. And these fake electors even tried to enter the state capitol in December of 2020, but they were turned away. And what's interesting about her comments here is it tracks with those Trump campaign memos about how they were going to facilitate this plot. Take a listen to a bit more of her comments.
It's not unprecedented either. I don't have the exact dates in front of me, but when I was at the Stop the Steal event yesterday, I think the last time was in 1960. The state of Hawaii sent in a dueling slate. but I think 8 different times over the course of our history. And, once again, trust our founding fathers. They had a way and a plan in case things like this went wrong.
And what's interesting here is she cites this 1960 example of Hawaii, and there were dueling slates of electors there, but that's where the similarities end. Richard Nixon originally won the state of Hawaii by 150 votes, but that was reversed on a recount. Donald Trump lost the state of Hawaii or the state of Michigan by 150,000 votes.
Right. 150 versus 150,000. We all understand the magnitude there. All right. So, but what's interesting in all these sound bites that you've just played is she's very clear. All these amazing constitutional lawyers and Trump's lawyers and all these people, and they were involved and they told us to do this. That's what she said in December of 2020. But 6 weeks ago, you found her talking again, and it sounds very different.
In previous conversations, you said it was attorneys that asked you to do this, and you're following the advice of attorneys. Tell me who asked you to do this, and because this is a big surprise for a lot of folks. Go ahead.
So here's the thing. If she chose to do this on her own volition, unless the state of Michigan has already openly shown that there is a law that where she could be criminally punished for this, which I believe there might be. If she had done this on her own volition, it's different. Let me see. Let's take a look at the state of Michigan. Actually, I don't even know if the state of Michigan has false. Oh shit! Fuck. Very frustrating. To try and type on this fucking laptop. Faithless elector law. Duluth, Michigan. State faithless electors laws only for Connecticut. I know when I see it as a legal precedent in this country, you can prosecute anything. Look at my logs. Supposedly there are alternate vote laws that very loosely allow some type of backup votes. You're mixing up faithless electors and fake electors. They're not the same thing. Yes, I'm going to get to that in a second. The reason why I think it's important, though, to understand is that for those of you who don't know, we'll go over this again. Faithless electors are electors who do not vote for the candidates of the U.S. president and vice president for whom the elector had pledged to vote, and instead votes for another person for one of the or both offices and abstains from voting. Okay? Now, it's a really fucking stupid concept, specifically designed by our founding fathers with the express purpose of trying to make sure that there wasn't really any kind of democracy. Okay? Like, that was the point. Yeah, faithless electors are r/atheism electors, okay? Which you should never let them vote. Anyway, Hasan on Windows 11 law. This is March's laptop I'm using. Anyway, ultra debate perverts. Sure. Electors are typically chosen and nominated by a political party's presidential nominee, and are usually party members with a reputation for high loyalty to the party and its chosen candidate. Thus, a faithless elector runs the risk of a party censure and political retaliation from the party, as well as potential legal penalties in some cases, in some states. So, as of 2020, 33 states and the District of Columbia have laws that require electors to vote for the candidates for whom they pledge to vote. So, in half of these jurisdictions, there is no enforcement mechanism. So, in 33 states and DC, you have to do it. You're compelled to do it, even if there is no legal enforcement mechanism. But again, that is all faithless electors, which means someone on their own volition inside of the Electoral College in the slate of electors decided on their own volition not to fucking vote for the person that their state voted for. Okay? In 14 states, votes contrary to the pledge are voided and respective electors are replaced. And in 2 of these states, they may also be fined. 3 other states impose a penalty on faithless electors, but still count their votes as cast. Because America, unfortunately, does not have a federally mandated election process, which is fucking very stupid. But what are you going to do? Colorado was the first state to void an elector's faithless vote, which occurred in the 2016 election. Minnesota also invoked this law for the first time in 2016 when an elector pledged to Hillary Clinton attempted to vote for Bernie Sanders instead. Until 2008, Minnesota's electors cast secret ballots, then they changed it. Okay? So the Trump administration tried to take advantage of the fact that they saw this as a weakness, which it is a weakness, for the record, in our elections process. They tried to use this as an exploit. Here, I'll use a gaming term. They tried glitch hacking, but because they couldn't just get a bunch of people to literally vote for Donald Trump that were chosen as the slate of electors, okay, on their own volition, they decided to urge them to do so by telling them, no, it's okay. Legally, you are allowed to do this. When they're not. Exploiting is a gamer term already, and you call yourself a real gamer, shaking my head. I know. Like, exploit. They tried to use an exploit. Turns out they've already patched in a bunch of shit in many different states. And on top of that, that exploit is not allowed. So now your speed run is not even going to have an asterisk next to it, but you're getting punished. Okay, you're getting a fucking VAC ban. You're getting a VAC ban because you tried to get a bunch of people to cheese as hard as you possibly could. Okay?
Go ahead.
You know, a lot of it is still vague to me, and I don't have any email.
Yeah, there was already a slate of electors since Biden won the state, but they sent new people as a new slate of electors.
Communications with any of these people, but Laura Cox was our state party chair at the time. Somebody from her staff contacted all of us, asked us to be at the Michigan Republican Party office at 2 p.m. I remember the time. I think it was December 18th, and so we showed up.
I mean, she says it's vague. But before, she had said we were guided by attorneys for our president, incredible constitutional attorneys. I've never in my whole life appreciated legal minds and attorneys before. I mean,
you're completely wrong. When we vote, we do not vote for president. We vote for electors to the Electoral College. Trump did not go around to change electors' minds. He tried to seat entirely different people in the Electoral College who were not voted for. Wait. First of all, dude, I know technically what you're saying is correct, but it doesn't matter. In the eyes of the American population, if you were to tell them, actually, you're fucking voting for electors to the Electoral College, they would go, what the fuck are you talking about? No, I'm voting for the president. So it's a semantics point that is important in the legal process, which is why I described the concept of faithless electors and why that's different. But that was the exploit that Trump tried to take advantage of, because there was no legal precedent, or the legal precedent that they had no enforcement mechanism. So they thought they could just completely tap in to the Electoral College part of the fucking voting structure, which is genuinely a weakness in the American voters process. If magically the slate of electors that were appointed in that situation on their own volition all got together and were like, we think Donald Trump is the true president, okay? And then in that situation, they would still have to find a way to prosecute these people. There is no fucking shot. It would be I guess it would be a constitutional crisis. Because of what I just mentioned. The average person does not think that they're voting for an elector that will cast a vote. The average person thinks they're voting for the president. Okay? It's important to explain it accurately here to understand what the fake elector plot is. I get that that's not how people think when they're voting in elections. I know, but people not thinking that that's who they're voting for in elections is a fundamental part of this. Because if everybody was like, oh, well, I guess I'm just voting for an elector, you can just literally have a constitutional crisis due to, let's say, in the off chance that all of these fucking electors were literally like, I just lied. I'm actually secretly a Trump supporter and I refuse to vote for Joe Brandon. I'm voting for Donald Trump. That still wouldn't matter. No, it wouldn't. That's legally what the Electoral College allows. The odds you could actually coordinate are incredibly low, but it's not a constitutional crisis if it actually happened. No, it would still, it would 100% become a problem because not a single person in public would be fine with that. Like, not a single human being would be like, oh, that's fine. Think about it this way. The Supreme Court plays a fundamental role in American politics, okay? And they oftentimes make decisions that completely go against what the public wants, okay? And there's not really an enforcement mechanism there. There's not something we can do there. And it's still deeply and undesirably frustrating. This would go above and beyond. This would be even worse than that. Technically legal, so no constitutional crisis in this situation is silly. Because you know what else is technically legal? Donald Trump becoming president from prison and then pardoning himself for all of his federal crimes, for example. If you don't think that that would constitute a constitutional crisis if it were to happen, I don't know what to tell you. It's technically legal, and yet it would absolutely be a constitutional crisis. Because technically, there's nothing in the books for something as insane. Does that make sense? In 2000, Bush's campaign thought he might win the popular vote and lose the Electoral College. If that had happened, they were prepared to argue that the electors should choose him over Gore. Illustrates how procedural perverts get owned by the right constantly. Yeah, procedural pervertry and institutional defense brigades from the Democratic Party often get owned by people who know what the rules are, what the boundaries are, and regularly choose to cross them. Because as I've said time and time again, if you truly care about the institutions, you still have to defeat the right because they are fucking terrorists, okay? They do not give a fuck about institutions. They just care about power because they understand that's how politics works. And they regularly will break boundaries and break new ground by pointing to old-ass antiquated laws or reinterpreting what those laws mean or coming up with fake legal interpretations like being a strict textualist, okay? Which is just simply a way to promote your reactionary agenda, but like slap on some kind of intellectual patina onto it, okay, to make it seem like it's actually legally permissible. We're actually just analyzing the actual intent that the founders had when they wrote this at the time and place. It's not, and it hasn't changed, and we need to value what they thought about back then. It's like fucking bullshit. It's complete bullshit, and they've done it over and over again. Again, fine, but if you want to accurately describe what Trump and co-conspirators are being brought up on charges for, you have to explain how electors in the Electoral College works, which I did, which is why I brought up the difference between faithless electors and what Trump was doing, which was not even trying to, I guess, create a scenario where there are people who just like are chosen to be the Electoral College electors that on their own volition decided to not vote for Donald Trump, not vote for Joe Biden, but instead put a new fucking slate of false electors, which is the actual like genuine criminal aspect here. You said trying to sway electors to be faithless was illegal, and you are wrong about that. I think if you are trying to legitimately sway electors to be faithless, even then, we're breaking new ground. And I think that that would absolutely be something that would be that would have to be tried. Do you not understand what I mean by this? Because then you are engaging in a conspiracy to change the outcome of a democratic election from the way that people are seeing it, from the way that people assume the election is supposed to happen. Why did all the debate perverts wake up? Holy shit! I don't think it's unimportant to address this. I think this is important. Bro's vacationing every week. Skull emoji, skull emoji. It's kind of funny that you're saying that because I'm currently like streaming. This is if you understand my job is to stream and serve you the top of the hour ad breaks. I'm literally live right now. What do you mean I'm vacationing every week? Like I'm currently working. Anyway, here's my job. Here's another aspect of my job. The 3-minute ad break. At the top of the hour, there is a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $5 or free with a Twitch Prime. By connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, where you get 1 free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster. Psychedelic Gazelle, thank you for the 20 Tier 1 gift of subs, allowing 20 people to be faithless electors. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. Faithless electors stealing the election would absolutely result in a civil war. It wouldn't matter what's technically legal. The Joint Chiefs of Staff would probably back the real winner, and that's all that would matter. Like, we're fantasizing about silly shit. And even in that situation, I think that there would have to be some kind of criminal punishment or some kind of legal issue that is brought up because you just can't fucking do that. Does that make sense? It would be the nuttiest thing that has ever happened in the history of the United States of America. One where plenty of constitutional crises have occurred, including the literal civil war. All right, let's keep going.
You know, as if this is very clear and guided by them. What is the change here?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting to see when people you cover suddenly develop amnesia for things they talked about so much before. Now, we did reach out to her. We asked about this. We didn't get a response. She did tweet at us eventually calling us fake news, but she didn't comment on any of her recent amnesia.
Right, and any of the substance of